Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Pacers Daily. I'm your host, Hery Acosta, bringing you back a new episode. We actually do have some breaking news. Rick Carlisle has signed a multi-year extension. Now, this is great for the team just because Carlisle has been absolutely all we've asked for whenever we signed him. And, already two Eastern Conference Finals appearances, a Finals appearance, almost won that Finals, had a 50-win year. So, we asked for a good coach, someone who can take over after we had our runs. Nate McMillan wasn't horrible, but there have been some other coaches here and there that just weren't really fitting what the Pacers really want. But this is great just because now we have him locked in for a few years. No signs of him getting fired anytime soon, especially after a finals run. But, congrats to Rick Carlisle. Very excited to see what else he can do with this team. See what he can do with this team without the star player. That's going to show a lot of character and just kind of, is this what Rick Carlisle can do? Yeah, Rick Carlisle, we've seen him do a lot of things in the NBA. We've seen him win a championship as a mad underdog in that 4-1 series against Miami back in 2011, where not one person had Dallas winning that series, but Carlisle, Nowitzki, everyone on that team just put it down and said, we're going to win this. But, congrats to Carlisle on that extension. Now, kind of piggybacking off of Carlisle's extension, we now have most of our roster for a few years, just because of all the extensions that we signed last season and the few that we signed this year. Basically, our whole starting lineup besides Mathurin is locked in. Matherin's most likely going to get that extension as well. But everyone else on the team, pretty much have our team set for the next few years. We know Toppin signed that extension, McConnell signed an extension, Nembhard signed an extension, Siakam signed that max contract, so did Halliburton. So just most of our team is set and pretty much is going to be here for the next few years. And now that's absolutely wonderful just because of the way that the Pacers play together and just our team chemistry. One big trade, one little trade, we don't really want to mess up too much just to kind of keep our chemistry together. Now, obviously, bringing in Siakam in that 2023-2024 season was a big step to kind of organizing all that. So now Siakam is as much involved in the chemistry as anyone else, and Siakam hasn't been here as long as most of them. But, this is going to be great just because not a lot of teams use, negotiations and re-signings to really, boost up their team. But the Pacers want to do it differently. Pacers know that the chemistry is the most important thing. Chemistry is what got us to the NBA Finals. Role players knowing how to play their role, and our starters having big games. Now, that's the main reason that we made it to the Finals. Same thing with Oklahoma. On paper, Oklahoma has a good team. Oklahoma has a great team. But do they have a more star-studded team than the Celtics, than the Knicks, than the current Rockets, than, the Lakers? No. On paper, those two teams aren't matched. But the Thunder and the Pacers have something that not a lot of teams do, and that's a crazy good chemistry. Everyone plays well together. So that's something that I think a lot of teams might start utilizing, which is why a lot of players did re-sign this year. Free agency wasn't, super crazy. There's a few trades here and there. But when it came to actual free agency, most players re-signed. So, and I've been seeing this under a few videos talking about Malik Monk and his uncertainty in Sacramento. Now, do we really want the Pacers to fleece Sacramento again? We could. We really could. We basically gave them a Chris Duarte. We gave him up to the Kings a few years ago when he was already washed after 2-3 seasons in the NBA. Just because he was drafted already at 24, and after his first year, he just either couldn't stay healthy or couldn't stay consistent. And then obviously the Halliburton trade. Now, if it wasn't for the Pacers making it to the finals or to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years in a row, people would look at that trade a lot more, two-sided. But just because of what the Pacers have been able to do, Pacers won that trade easily. Now, Sabonis is a good player. Don't get me wrong. Sabonis is great, and Sabonis has been having an amazing tenure with Sacramento. Just the problem is Sacramento's just not getting anywhere. But, another trade with the Kings, I don't know if they're going to want to continue to trade with us just because we seem to just know what we're doing. But I could see Malik Monk as like another six-man, but the problem is you'd have to give something up for him. You can't just, be like, oh, here's a second-round pick, here's a first-round pick, he's ours. No, we're probably going to have to give up a player. But, we do have some players in that lower end and tag them along with a few picks. Maybe we could get Malik Monk. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't actually think the Pacers will call the Kings for Malik, but it's definitely something to look on. Last but not least, talking about the main man himself, Siakam. Now, I'm going to set his bar a little bit higher just because there's going to be more to spread around. I think Siakam could go up to about 22, 23 points a game. Now, the only way he doesn't do that is if Mathurin ends up becoming the 23, 24 point a game scorer, which that is also a very big possibility. But Siakam has that game. Siakam has been improving his three-point shooting. His mid-range has been deadly since his third or fourth season in the NBA. And his paint game is amazing. I mean, we saw him catch a few bodies last year, and we didn't see that side of Siakam in a long time. But overall, just a 23, 22, that's a pretty set mark just because he's going to get a lot more opportunity now. Now, of course, the 1-2 game isn't going to be there. Maybe he can start his own 1-2 game with Nembhard. Nembhard is a great passer. Nembhard could find people. But also make sure we have to limit the turnovers just because that's kind of what killed us in Game 7 of the finals. We got to keep the ball in our hands. Protect that ball like it's our house, like it's a fat stack of cash, just like it's any of that. And also, Siakam. Siakam is going to be the star of this team. And a lot of people say he already has been. I think him and Hallie are kind of on that same pedestal just because they're both star players. But this year, Siakam's going to have to take that jump just because of the injury, just because he's not going to be playing alongside Turner, which he got very comfortable playing alongside Turner. Now he's going to be playing alongside a guy who doesn't space the floor as much, but is very good in the paint and can help Siakam on help defense and Jackson. So that's definitely something that the Pacers are going to have to look at and just seeing how everyone adjusts to that. But as always, I am your host, Hery Acosta. This is Pacers Daily. Boom, baby, and go, Sirs.